What's up, world? I've put out quite a few videos lately, more than I usually do, but this is my final build guide, and today we're talking about Physical Barrage. Many will quickly point out that it's not indies, and that's obvious for sure, though there are some that would rather Barrage be the damage dealer with a simple rotation, and that's what this is. It's got great AoE clear and decent single target. It clears T8 hordes with no problems and tackles Lilith and tormented bosses just as easily. Precision key passive is usually harsh on builds that aren't combo point related, mainly due to the fact that you can only proc precision every third cast of a core skill. But we solved a bit of these inconsistencies, building in a way that's never been tried before until now. Let's go over what you need to be successful with Physical Barrage. So let's go over skills real quick. We take 2 points to be able to get to our barrage here. Max it out, come all the way to improve barrage, so therefore we get some free vulnerable cast. As usual, you would take sturdy and siphoning strikes. Come on down here, pick up shadow step, discipline shadow step so you can use it more often. Max out weapon mastery, take dash, come down to methodical dash so you get more charges and also a quicker cooldown off of those as well. Cow traps as usual, methodical cow traps so we can get a chill and a freeze pretty quickly. As for all rogue builds, unstable elixirs and trick attacks is just basically standard. Coming down here, smoke grenade, more damage, also countering to be able to use it more often. Dark shroud, we're going to come down here and take the subverting dark shroud because we don't really need the crit chance in this build, so some free heals just in case you do lose some shadows. We take exploit, also malice, as in most rogue builds. Come down here, we skip all of this, but we do pick up frigid finesse because we are able to freeze, and of course the cold cow traps, right? Come down here, innovation ranks, very important. Make sure you max that out, and also get tempers on your ring as well as your amulet. And second wind, because you're going to have a permanent barrier with this build, so that's going to feel really nice and good. We take Rain of Arrows as our ultimate here, and we come down here and we take the Supreme Rain of Arrows, and we actually do use the knockdown for one of the aspects that we're going to have on our gear, so pretty important thing to do here. It's also pretty neat too, because when you go to the Sky Hunter build, you realize that chance for marksman projectiles to cast twice. Well, Rain of Arrows is also a marksman, so you can actually get 4 waves of Rain of Arrows instead of 2. Let me see if I can get the proc this time. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so you get quite a bit of an uptime on that particular skill because of the Sky Hunter, so kind of cool synergy there. And last but not least, we take the precision key passive. This is one of those things where in most inner sight or preparation builds that run precision, you only really proc precision every third attack, because you will crit on the first because of Sky Hunter. You will definitely crit on the second because you have a bunch of arrows, so one of those is going to crit, but you don't really actually get the precision proc until the third cast of whatever skill that you're using. So generally speaking, it ends up being, poor damage, great damage, poor damage, great damage, because you don't proc until the third hit. However, I have remedied that with something really interesting that we're going to talk about on our gearing, so our damage doesn't fall off completely when precision doesn't proc. So with that being said, let's go to gearing. All right, so very quickly going over gearing, we're going to take Cal the Nameless here. You can technically do a Shaco too, but it's definitely less damage if you do so. But Cal the Nameless is what we're going to use. Technically speaking, I actually like the crown better because it's more unconditional damage, which makes it a little easier for single target situations that aren't staggered. However, the energy consumption is just absolutely ridiculous. I tried several different things to try to alleviate that, but it's just really difficult. So it's just best to just go with Cal the Nameless and just call it a day. Tyrio's my hero, of course, because insane damage reduction and toughness makes it easier to cap your resistances and armor. Then we go down here to gloves. You want to throw concussive strikes as your aspect. Generally speaking, you want attack speed, crit damage, and range to barrage. Couldn't get attack speed on it if you notice. You got dexterity, but it works. Smoke grenade cooldown reduction is also really good. And for the temper, you actually really want damage per dark shroud on all your pieces of gear. I know I have crit damage here as a temper, and generally you normally would want to, but I need a new glove so I can retemper that. But the reason why I say you want damage per dark shroud as a temper on all your pieces of gear, I said back here with precision how your damage is pretty bad if you do not proc precision, and you only proc precision basically 33% of the time. Well, if you go with damage per dark shroud as your temper, right, it's pretty close to the value of what crit damage is for this particular build. So if you do damage per dark shroud, this means that the damage that you do when you don't proc precision isn't terrible. It's actually pretty good. So instead of going bad damage, great damage, it's actually good damage, great damage. Moving on, we go down to pants. We want to take umbers, of course. Get your armor so therefore you can cap maximum life, dexterity or dodge. I have dodge percent here. Go with second wind for your temper, so therefore you have a better barrier. And of course, whatever utility you kind of want to do here. I have stun, it works. You can do freeze, that works. Then we come down to boots. Generally speaking, you can do barrier generation, which can kind of help with barrier too in case you don't have second wind tempers. And then of course movement speed on your boots. So dexterity, max life, movement speed, pretty much all the usual things. If you have a penitent greaves, you can do that too. Here you just lose dex and some life, but you also gain quite a bit of utility with penitent greaves, so you can go that route if you want to. Take frostbitten on the boots. Of course, Scout Hunter with any precision build is what you want to do here. Then for your sword, dexterity, max life, critical strike damage on basically both slots. Here I rolled barrage projectiles here because I'm going to have 2 legendary swords now, so I can kind of use the other sword for something different. But here I did the barrage so I can reach 100%. If you notice, damage per dark shroud, make sure you have that tempered. I ran with conceited for the aspect because we have permanent barrier, so you know, more damage that way. Come to the second slot as a dagger, not a sword, but really you want to do a sword for the crit damage implicit. But same ordeal, dex, max life, critical strike damage, and damage per dark shroud, as you notice here. Try to crit on that and get as much as you possibly can. And we're running with retribution aspect. So if you remember what I was telling you about the Rain of Arrows with the knockdown, well, guess what? You knock down all the time with Rain of Arrows. And if you look at the aspect, you basically are knocking down, you get damage for knocking down enemies. So if you notice, there's no totem, there's no Umber Crux here. So we took that out, and after a lot of testing I've done in the past couple of days, my single target has been better actually without the totem than with the totem, which is, I found it quite strange, but A, it works. I'm not going to question the testing. We actually can kill TA council bosses now without the totem, and your damage is more consistent. Then we have Starless, of course. Starless for anything that you're spamming is just a natural thing. Please make sure you masterwork your core skills here, as I did not. Then for the ring, we go with high velocity. You want dex, attack speed, crit damage, and of course damage per dark shroud. And also make sure you temper innervation so you can keep up your energy. Coming up to the amulet, generally speaking, Frigid Finesse, Weapon Mastery is pretty good. Exploit is really not that great. Again, this is just the amulet that I just use across a lot of builds because it just works. But Malice is also very good. Percent Dex, if you have Dex, if you have a lot of Dex, also works pretty well here. Also make sure, again, temper damage per dark shroud. And we're going to take branching volleys for our aspect on the amulet. Now, in terms of gems are concerned, do rubies. As you know, if you follow any of my build guides so far, I always do dex, but it's really glassy. I would suggest doing rubies and gear, and then go with diamonds and the weapons. Why? Because we are using the No Witness legendary node for our ultimate damage, since we're casting the ultimate quite often because we're using a lot of energy with preparation. Then we basically get that uptime of damage quite often. So I don't think I actually showed it yet, but yeah, we are using preparation specialization here. So not inner-sight, not combo points, it's preparation. And for your last gems, you want to use skulls and your jewelry because, of course, with Material Smite, all of your resistances are covered. So you throw armor in here, 1 armor roll, and you're capped with armor. And that's about it for gearing. Quick glance at the Paragon board. We're gonna actually take combat in the first slot. It's easy to kind of pick up 2 intel nodes here. Of course, you could max out the combat glyph in a different board, but you will also lose quite a few points trying to do so. So it was just really super simple to get a decent amount of crit damage from the combat glyph, just having it in this board to begin with. So we come up here, we do that. We take no witness, of course. We put fluidity glyph here, and we also pick up the no witness legendary node for extra damage. We come out here, we go for cheap shot. We take the cheap shot legendary node. We pick up the chip glyph here because of course we're all physical right now. Then we come to the side. We also have exploit weakness. So we want to take exploit weakness on the exploit weakness board. Come down here for the tricks of the trade board. We put control, and we also come and take tricks to the trade. Easy because you dash, you'll proc the cutthroat part of it by dashing and shadow stepping. And of course your barrage is marksman. So we also come to the side here. We pick up pride and the deadly ambush Paragon board. And we also pick up deadly ambush for the extra damage while they're in our traps. And finally, we take the cunning stratagem board and we slot ambush glyph here. So we're actually running 6 glyph with this particular setup. Super easy to kind of take most of this. And that's pretty much the Paragon board. Again, as with any particular videos, it's much easier to look at the planner to see how all of this kind of really connects. And yeah, that's it. And that's Barrage. I think this is probably my final guide I'm making for the season unless some big changes happen with the mid-season patches. The biggest find I think with physical Barrage at the moment is basically being able to do dark shroud tempers over crit damage tempers, so your damage is way more consistent and also more reliably better on single target. So hope this helps you, and as always, till next time.